Uh, well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Well, we discussed about the definition of research as well as objectives of research in our previous classes. And in yesterday's class, we discussed about the objectives of research. There we have seen the three types of objectives for a research. Maybe with the intention of exploratory research studies, descriptive and then diagnostic research studies, and we stopped at the fourth one, that is causal relationship between variables, that is also known as causal research design. To test a hypothesis of a causal relationship between variables, one of the objective of a research, or some researchers will have an objective of testing the hypothesis of causal relationship between two variables, that is knowing the relationship between two variables. All of you are familiar with the words cause and effect. These both elements are directly proportional to each other. If you manipulate something in the cause, that will be reflected in effect. That's the meaning of the causal relationship. Something like if the advertisements are increased, sales will increase. If the supply will increase, demand will also increase, or sometimes it decreases, depends upon the situation. If the supply increases, price comes down. Likewise, we have various variables which are related to each other, and this kind of a research will help us to develop the relationship between these two variables. As I told you yesterday, that there are three types of variables. One is dependent variable, another is independent variable, and the third one is extraneous variable. What is dependent variable? Dependent variable is a variable which is dependent on other variable. Something like your petrol and diesel price is dependent on the supply of petrol and diesel from OPEC countries. from which we import the crude oil. If there is a increase in supply, definitely we will find decrease in price. If there is a decrease in the supply, definitely it will leads to the increase in the price. So here the price of the petrol and diesel are dependent variables, means the price of these two is a dependent variable. Why it is dependent variable? Because it is dependent on the supply. According to the movement of supply, the price will behave. You might have seen from last 2 to 3 months, the price of petrol is going up and almost it has reached 100 rupees. Whereas 3-4 months back, it was roaming around 70 rupees. There is a increase in petrol price from 70 rupees to 100 rupees. 30 rupees increase in the petrol price. We know the reason behind it. The reason is uh, the OPEC countries reduced manufacturing crude oil. They stopped extracting the crude oil from their petrol wells as well as petroleum wells. That's what the supply is limited and the price is increasing. So when a variable is dependent on other variable, or when a variable behaves either in a positive way or in a negative way according to another variable's manipulation, we call it as a dependent variable. And one more variable is independent variable. This is a variable which is not at all dependent on any variables. It's totally independent and having of its own freedom. Supply of petrol. Supply of petrol, it will not depend on anything, as there are several wells or there are several sources of petrols in OPEC countries. You can extract any number of liters or gallon liters of petroleum from these wells. But the question is, if the petrol is not extracted, then definitely price will increase. And there is no question of supply, or there is no question of increase or decrease in the supply of the petroleum, because you are controlling it, you are handling it. Either you may increase or you may decrease, it's in your hand. So that's what supply is not at all dependent on any variable. It doesn't mean if the price is increasing, so supply will also increase. If the price is coming down, so the supply will also come down. Not like that. It is totally independent and not dependent on any variable. Another example is sales and advertisement. We all of us believe that if the amount of advertisements increased, then definitely it will impact on the sales and sales will also increase. Here sales is dependent variable because it is dependent on the advertisement if you keep other factors constant. I don't say that advertisement is the only one tool which boosts the sales. There are several factors which will increase the sales also, but for understanding purpose here, let us isolate all other factors and will activate only advertisement and test the relationship between sales and advertisement. If you increase the advertisement, definitely sales will increase. If you decrease the advertisement, definitely sales will come down. So it means sales is dependent on advertisement. That's what sales is dependent variable, whereas the advertisement is independent variable, because advertisement is not dependent on any other variable or any other factor. It moves up or it goes down according to its wish. or the person who manipulates it. Is it not? Then extraneous variables. These are the variables which will influence while testing the relationship between the dependent and independent variables. Though you isolate other factors or other elements, there are some variables which will have an influence on it. Something like sales and advertisement. If you increase the advertisement, sales may not happen because customers are not satisfied with the product quality. Here the quality will act as a extraneous variable which will impact on the sales. Though you are increasing the advertisement, sales is not happening and there is no effect on sales because the extraneous variable called quality is influencing more on the customer. That was, it is not reflected in the sales, though your advertisements are increased, improved, frequency of telecasting the advertisements also increased, then also you will not find any improvement in the sales. These extraneous variables are the uncontrollable variables which will have impact on the dependent variable most of the times. Cause and effect relationship, as I told you, cause is here supply, the effect will be deemed or reflected in the demand. Cause is advertisement, which will be deemed or reflected in the sales, that is effect. So in this way, we develop various relationship between different dependent and independent variables in our social sciences. And this kind of a researches will help us, or which will help the researcher to know the relationship between the dependent and independent variable, and also at what rate the changes may take place. If you remember your science laboratories, there were some instruments that you were using, like your rheostat, which controls your current. When you increase the current, it will show high volts. When you decrease the current, it will show low volts. So manipulation of rheostat reflects in volts. You will observe the voltmeter and take the readings. That is cause and effect relationship. So you will take the readings and finally you will conclude, if you increase 1 amp of current, then there is a change in volts of 0.5. Now, for example, we will understand it. It's just imagination or assumption. In the same way, if you invest 10% of your entire revenue in advertisement, how much sales it will yield? Compared to last year, will it yield 1% increase in sales? Will it yield 2% increase in sales? Will it yield 3% in sales? If you invest 5% of your total revenue on advertisement, then how much sales will it generate? Will it be of 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%? Likewise, for different slabs, you will find different effects. So thereby you will prove, or you will come to know that if you manipulate the independent variable by 1 point or 2 point or 3 point or maybe 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 10 lakh, whatever the number it is, how much influence it will have on the dependent variable. So that will help you to take the decisions, especially when to invest more in advertisements, when not to invest more amount in advertisements. This decision you can take. And you will also come to know when the price of crude oil will increase, at what rate the crude oil price may increase if the supply is decreased by 1% or 2% or 3%. And even with this research, causal relationship, or you can call it as causal research, you can develop the relationship between the stock market as well as investment in gold and silver. Both of them are investment options for an investor. You will find a lot of fluctuations in stock market. One day it goes up, one day it comes down. And you will also find the same fluctuations in this gold and silver market also, which is also called as MCX. If you collect enormous information and identify the dependent and independent variable, then you can develop a relationship and you will come to know if the investors are running behind MCX market, withdraw their money from stock market and invest in the gold or silver, then it will have an impact on stock market. Is it not? I think Praful will agree with me because practically he is doing it.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So in this way, this causal research will help us in knowing the cause and effect, as well as the dependent variables, independent variables, and extraneous variables. So these are the 4 objectives of research. If you have any questions or doubts, let me know. Anybody would like to ask any question? Switch on your mics and let me know. Whether you are following it or not.
Yes, sir. Follow.
Or any difficulty, any questions, doubts, queries?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll go for next slide. That is characteristics of good research. As we all are aware about the researches which were conducted either in basic science, applied science, social science, and we also hear the words that the quality of research is coming down nowadays, whether it's a student's project, academics research, or scientific research, or any kind of a research for this matter. And even we are lagging in research. That's what we are not able to get a position in top 10 universities in the world. One of the prime reason behind not getting the position in top 10 world universities is the quality of research. There are lakhs together research work takes place in India. But when it comes to the quality of the researchers, they are not at par with the international standards. Most of them are useless. Only few of them are useful. Why it is so? It is because they don't bear the characteristics of a good research. That's what the research work which is conducted are not acceptable and not useful for either for society or for mankind or for anybody. Simply for the sake of submission, simply for getting the degree, some people will conduct research and they submit it. but that is unethical. So to be ethical and to be uh, honest, we should follow the characteristics of good research. A good research will have these following characteristics. The first one is it should be vigorous. Second one is it should be systematic. Third one is it should be reductive. Fourth one, it should be logical. Fifth one, it should be replicable. Sixth one, it should have objective. These are the 6 important characteristics of a good research. If your research is having these characteristics, then you can proudly say that my research work is a good research work. Otherwise, that research work cannot be called as a good research. Let us see one by one with some explanation and understand what does they mean. The first one, vigorous, seeks to look at all avenues surrounding the problem in order to conduct a thorough investigation. Researches are not restricted. They don't have boundaries, they don't have limitations. And the person who conduct a research should be strong enough to know what is happening in and around. That's what it should be vigorous, and the research seeks to look at all avenues surrounding the problem. When you start your research, at the first stage, you will be defining the problem. Defining the problem is the art as well as science and requires a lot of skills, patience, and insights. The researcher should see a problem from all the points of view. Means he or she should adopt 360-degree inspection. Go to the roots of the problem, identify the various causes, symptoms of the problem from different angles. It doesn't mean, sir, I am a marketing specialist, I will look at the problem from marketing point of view only. If you do it, then it is not vigorous. And the results what you get will not be effective and will not solve the problem. You have to look that problem from marketing point of view, finance point of view, HR point of view, production point of view, engineering point of view, research point of view, and so many point of views. Then only you will get a good background and insights about the point, a problem, and you must go for a thorough investigation. So I went to marketing department, collected information and conducted a survey, got these results, and this is the conclusion. No, that is not the right way. You must have a thorough investigation. Thorough investigation in the sense, meet each and every department in the organization, collect information from the all departments, collect the historical data about that organization, collect the information about the industry to which the organization belongs, collect national level information as well as global level information, state level information, then at company level information, When you get this enormous information, then the research can be called as a vigorous in nature. And it is advised for all the academicians and all the students, research scholars, and those who wants to conduct the research, they must gain background and insights about the problem by collecting huge information. Then only you can analyze the problem, you can read the problem, you can define the problem. Otherwise it is very difficult to define the problem scientifically. Haphazardly or in hurry, you may define the problem in a wrong way, and that will leads to a big problem. I told in my previous class that if the problem is defined in a correct way, then you solved the problem 50%. If you define the problem in a wrong way, then the entire research work will go in vain. That's what, dear students, remember the research work, what you carry, that should be vigorous. Then second one, systematic. Identifies and labels variables, investigates relationship between variables, data is collected, hypotheses are evaluated. Research is systematic and a disciplined work. There are set of rules, there are set of concepts, principles, theories, models, methods that we need to adopt and follow. You cannot develop your own rules or methods to conduct a research. You need to identify and label the variables. That is very important. Sir, customers are not satisfied because the price is high. If you make this kind of a comment blindly, then I will not accept it. It's your opinion, it's your feedback, or it's your view on this issue. The reality may be different. Sometimes customers are not bothered about the price, but they are dissatisfied. It may be because of several reasons. Maybe because of non-availability of the product with the distribution channel members, maybe because of the product design, maybe because of packaging, labeling, maybe because of the sales executive's behavior. There are several reasons behind it. So we need to identify that exact and accurate reasons behind it. That's what. Don't jump to the conclusion at the earliest. And the researchers first quality is having patience. We should develop a great patience while conducting a research. We should go slowly and collect as much as information possible and go on analyzing the information, use which is required, and look at that analysis, read them from your inner eye, interpret it with impartial mind, and draw the conclusion. It investigates the relationship between the variables. Definitely, while conducting a research, we will develop or we will probe the relationship between different variables, how those variables are related, how they will impact on others, and what are their weightages that we can study when we conduct a research. Data is collected, hypothesis is conducted, and evaluated. Yeah, we collect the data and we test the hypothesis and see the results. In total, the research is systematic work set of rules, methods, methodologies. Then you have some rules for it. You have some principles, some concepts that you must follow. Then only the research work will be systematic. If you do it of your own, then it cannot be called as a good research. Reductive research takes individual events and uses them to establish general relationships. Of course, either it's a scientific research or social science research, it takes individual events and uses them to establish general relationships. All of you know about the Newton's third law. What's that Newton's third law? Anybody would like to state it?
To every action, there is equal and opposite reactions.
For every action, there is a equal and
Opposite reaction.
reaction. Fine. How did Newton comes to know about it?
By throwing a ball.
No, how Newton came to know about it?
For his experiments, sir.
From his experiment. Then
Research.
there is a story. I don't know whether it's true or false. That once Newton was sleeping under a apple tree. Suddenly, apple falls on Newton. Then Newton starts thinking, why apple came down? Why not it went up? Then he proposed that gravity theory and all. And later also for every action and reaction, he experienced a small incident. And later he established the general relationship. Now see, he might have experienced it with one event, one small event, any event. There is an equal and opposite reaction for every action. Fine. And that individual event was resulted in establishing the general relationship. Generally, for every action, whatever the action it is, whether you throw the ball, whether you jump into water, whether you slap somebody, whatever you do for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction you will find under the sun everywhere. So a small individual event is used to establish the general relationship. That is reductive. Maybe in your social science, test marketing, you studied it in your new product development process. You will select a place or a location, and you wanted to observe the consumer behavior with that product, and you will write down the behavior of the customer. By observing them, you will record it in an observation sheet, and later you will analyze it and you will come to know that yesterday I placed the product with blue labeled package, and today I labeled it with red label package. Compared to blue, red attracts more people, if this is your conclusion. Then you may think that people may like red more than blue, or you may think that red will attract more than blue. So this is what you call it as an individual event and which leads to establishing the general relationship. We have several examples for it, using an individual event and using them to establish the general relationship. So your research characteristic should be like that. It should be reductive. Then logical. Research design allows the investigator to draw reasonable conclusions. Usually I observed whether some students or some academicians, some so-called research scholars or big scholars and their work, their title will be something else and research objectives will be something else. Then their research methodology will be something else. Their findings will be different, suggestions will be different, and conclusion will be different. There is no link at all. Research problem is different. Objectives are not at all related or connected to the research problem. And then research methodologies, the tools and techniques to use used for solving that research problem are inappropriate. And after conducting the research, whatever the findings they get, they are not at all related to the research problem. And the suggestions, whatever they recommend or suggest to overcome from that problem, will never solve the problem. And the conclusion, what they write, may not be realistic in nature. Why it happens? Because those people fail to understand the logical relationship between the various steps involved in research. Start from the first stage to the last stage. In between, you will find so many stages. Each stages are interlocked and interconnected, and there is a relationship between all these stages. It's nothing but splitting a big problem into small elements, and again those small elements will be splitted into teeny elements, and those teeny elements will be splitted into nano elements. So the whether the nano element, teeny element, small elements, or your big problem, all of them are evolved from the big problem itself, is it not? The last one, nano element, teeny element, and small element, they are derived from your problem, is it not? There should be a relationship. They should come out from that, not from outside, not from our side. So they should be logical. The flow of your research work should be connected, and there should be some meaning, there should be some relationship, there must be. Then only you can call it as a logical, otherwise it's illogical. Then replicable, research process is recorded, enabling others to test the findings. Most of the times in research work, they mention what they found from their research work, and the person who wanted to continue the same research work can test those findings with the help of recorded findings. So you must include whatever you analyzed, whatever you collected. Fine. Then the last one is objective, is not affected by the research own views, beliefs, or what they might want to find from the study. This is very important. The goal or objective of a good research is impartial, and it should be free from personal prejudices and halo effect. You should act as a neutral person. Don't be emotionally attached with the company in which you are doing the project, or don't be emotional with any elements which comes under the research process work. Be neutral, be impartial while conducting the research. That's the major objective of the good research. So these are the 6